I'm so grateful for being here today. You all have very busy lives and incredible work that you're all doing. I myself am completely immersed in the community leadership space. And so I'm just really, really happy to be here today, and being around you all, and the work that you're doing is truly inspiring. So thank you. I'm going to ask you to do a few different things today. I don't have the luxury of seeing your faces and engaging with you and being completely interactive. So I just want to give you a heads up that I am going to be asking you to use the chat sometimes. And then I'm also going to be giving you a handout that you can use to kind of follow along with me today. And so we'll do that in just a few minutes. So let's get started. In the chat, what I would love for you to do is tell us something that has happened to you in the past couple of days that's just been really good. The picture that you see on this slide here is one that I took recently. I live in North Carolina, which is the land of trees for me. And I'm recent here. I only transplanted here about a year and a half ago. And I came from Colorado, which has a lot of beauty, but it's a different kind of beauty. And so over the weekend, I was able to go out onto a hike and go on this trail that I just love so much. And I caught this sun ray. And as I captured it on my awesome camera, it actually captured me. And it was one of those moments where I just stood there in awe, watching this ray of sun. And as I think about it now, I can go back to that moment. And as I'm looking at it on the screen, I can go back to that moment. And it just filled me with all the joy that I had when I saw it. So go ahead and just pop in there, something great that's happened, and really just feel it when you're typing it in there. And then as you're looking at them, jump into somebody else's experience. I'm seeing celebrations, hiking in Virginia. Thank you so much. 19th birthday, wonderful. We love birthdays. Playing in the rain, getting that nature. Yes, awesome. Went for a walk after dinner last night. That's fantastic. Seen lots of hiking. Saw a hawk in your backyard. That's awesome, Paula. Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm seeing lots and lots here. So just read through those chats. Enjoy it. Feel the energy. Feel that joy coming through. So hopefully that's where we're going to spend a lot of our day. Well, I say day, but for the next hour, this is where we're going to spend our time. I'm going to walk you through what CCL has done a lot of research around, and it's called our vermrite methodology. And so it's our approach to resilience. And so we're going to talk about that a lot. So as Daniel mentioned, it's about burning bright instead of burning out. So we'll talk about that first, and then we'll go into what we call vicious cycles. Talk about those tactics, those habits, those things that we do that kind of derail us a little bit. And then explore some ways that we can come out of that downward spiral and into what we call now a virtuous cycle. So that's how we're going to spend our day today. And so let's first start by just talking about what vermrite is at the beginning. So here it is on the screen. It's just a natural positive, which is really important to understand, and aspirational opposite to burning out. In the same way that there are things that we do to kind of downward spiral and let our energy be sucked out of us, there are also things we can do to build our energy so that we have what we need to face the day, to face the things that we are required to do. And so as you have a life at work, as you have a life in the other roles that you play, whether it's as a volunteer, whether it's as a partner, as a parent, as a sibling, as a caregiver, all of those things that you do, the world is moving on. And so you've got to keep up with it. And there's so many things that you've got to do. And so that's what we're going to really, really focus on, is being positive and affirmative and staying away from the burning out. So ultimately, what it comes down to is all of the people that have done really cool, incredible, amazing things, from athletes to C-suite leaders. They understand that peak performance is not about doing more. It's not about working harder. It's about how you recharge. It's about how you maintain the fuel in your body, in your brain, to keep going. And so that's what I want to focus on today, is that a lot of times we like to just do, and go. And we forget that we're human beings. And instead we jump into this states of human doings. So that's what we're going to do today, is like, let's remember that we are human beings first. All of the stuff that we're going to talk about today has been thoroughly researched, rigorously. And so just know that everything that we're putting in front of you is not something that we're just kind of trying out. It's stuff that's been researched. It's also reasonable. These are things that you can actually do, little things that you can do all day. It's replicable, which means it's portable. So even if you have a role that requires you to be on your feet all the time, or out of a physical office and in community and doing just a lot of different things, these things are portable. These things are things that you can do anywhere. They're also replicable. And so, I'm sorry, I talked about the replicable already. They're reasonable because they're things you can actually do. Let's jump down to routine. They are things that you can build into your daily habit, and you don't have to worry about derailing the rest of your day. And then also they're rituals. So these are things that eventually can be treated as sacred and special and set aside, so that you're no longer sacrificing these things. Does this person look familiar to you? I imagine this is something that we all can resonate with every now and again. So the question here is, when we are not our best selves, why? What is it that's getting in the way? Are we sleepy? Are we hungry? Are we hangry? There's so many things that are swirling around us at all times. And so we, just kind of get lost in it. And so like this person here, there are things that are getting in the way. So now that Hannah thank you, Hannah, has dropped in the chat the handout that we have for you today. It's called our blueprint. I'd love for you to download that so that you can follow along and start kind of capturing your notes and your reflections and just engage in the learning process with me today. So download that and then answer the first question. And that first question is what you see on the screen. What gets in the way of you being your vermrite self? I'll give you just a moment to go ahead and fill that out. If you have any questions at all, any technical issues downloading the document, just reach out to Hannah directly. Devin, I see your chat in there about how fear feels like the longest lasting emotion. That's real stuff. And we'll talk about that today. All right. So here's why we get in our way. We live in this world that we call the VUCA world. It stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. With the volatility, it just simply means that things are hard to predict. And it's the change that's coming on us, especially as you think about the last year and a half, the change is constant and it's unpredictable and it's out of our control a lot of the time. There's also a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's happening next, and your brain hates that. It takes a lot of energy for your brain to try and figure out and get grounded all the time when it comes to different things happening in your swirl all around you. Things are also becoming increasingly more complex, nuanced, especially now that so many of us have transitioned the way that we work. I know at CCL all of last year, we had to convert our entire business model. We went from delivering programs in classrooms to doing it on screen. That was a huge shift, a monumental shift for us. And a lot of us, I mean, it stressed us to the max. So there's a lot that's been going on in the world and in our homes and just things that we've had to adjust to, and they're becoming more and more complex all the time. And then there's the ambiguity of it all. There are things that we once defined as one way, and now we're having to completely redefine it. This new normal. What does that mean? So we're constantly problem solving. We're constantly trying to figure things out. We're trying to make meaning at all times. That is stressful. And so your brain perceives that as a threat. So you end up with this fight, flight, freeze, and appease response. And that's what we like to call being amygdala hijacked. So when you've been hijacked by your amygdala, that means you're not going to be operating as the best version of yourself. Now you're kind of the opposite of that. It's gotten so bad over the last few years that the World Health Organization has actually designated burnout as a syndrome. And so when you think about what burnout means, they've given it 3 different criteria, 3 different dimensions to look at. And so I'm curious if this is familiar to you or anybody that you work with. If you have feelings of your energy being totally depleted or just feeling exhausted over a sustained period of time. If you have increased mental distance from your job. So basically saying you're not really connecting with it anymore. You're just kind of going through the motions. And then lastly, reduced professional efficacy, really just saying, I don't think I can do this anymore. Maybe it means I don't think I have the skills to do this. Maybe it's I don't have the ability, I don't have, or I don't have enough of. So our imposter syndrome starts getting in, and all of these different things, we just get weighed down by the pressure of it all. And that's what causes us to eventually withdraw and retreat. We lose sight of ourselves underneath all of that pressure. We lose our identity, especially when we're getting closer and closer to that burnout. So when people see us, all they see is that we're just lost in this busyness. You as a human being, remember, you're not a human doing. And so it's really important for us to take a moment, step back, and realize, okay, who am I in this moment? Who do I want to be in this moment? And what do I need? We're so busy taking care of the work and taking care of other people that we end up being no one to ourselves. So here's what this looks like. It happens through a process that we call a vicious cycle. And as this amusement park ride, I know at Elitch's, where I grew up, it was called the swings. I don't know if it's called that everywhere, but it spins you around and you just get lost in the spin. And that is what happens with a vicious cycle. You just get lost in the spin. Even when we have our very best intentions, we still, we get lost in the swirl of it. And it happens just very, very naturally. It's really easy to fall into it. And what happens in that spin, in that swirl, is there is a process of little habits, little routines that we just kind of jump into that build momentum. And so we get caught in this flywheel and we're kind of going down this downward spiral all by ourselves. And that's what we're energizing instead of, coming out of it. So let me give you an example of what a vicious cycle looks like. Here's what mine looks like. So here's kind of where mine starts. If I'm really, really stressed and I know that I'm approaching burnout, so I've got just way too much to do. I've got all my hats on, right? I've got my career hat on. I've got my school hat on. I've got my parent hat on, a sibling. I'm a new grandmother. And so I've got, that hat on, teaching my daughter how to be a parent. There's so many things that are going on in my life. And so I get caught up in my own thoughts. And then eventually I'm thinking about everything and planning through everything. And then I don't have time to get anything done. And I have way too much to do. And so I now sacrifice sleep. I allow those thoughts to kind of just come and come and come. And then I'm tossing and turning and I can't sleep at night. Well, then I am so tired in the morning that I decide to give myself just a few more minutes and to sleep. And then I skip my workout. And then as soon as I get up, I rush and get ready for work and come right downstairs because I don't have a commute anymore. So it's really easy for me to take that extra time and rush and just come downstairs. And then I've got my coffee pot on program. And so it automatically has brewed my coffee for me. So I'll run into the kitchen, grab my coffee, come here, And I don't eat. I just drink my coffee because it's quick, it's easy, and it's, doesn't take a lot of work. And then I'm working through and I start getting hungry, but I'm working through because I got too much to do and I'm starving, but I'm working through. And pretty soon my workday is over before I even know it. And now I'm really hungry. And now I'm going to grab something that's really quick. And usually that means for me, it's salty, it's fried, and it's covered in sauce or gravy or green chili if I can. And then afterwards, I need something to, calm me. So I'll have a glass or two of wine. And then what happens with wine is that it metastasizes somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning. And so then I'm awake again. The other thing is, after I've had my glass of wine, I want to just go chill out. I've been overstimulated all day. And so I need to just be by myself, which means I'm drinking wine in my room by myself without my family. And oh my gosh, my poor family. I'm back in my cycle. I can't sleep. So the physical results of this, of my own vicious cycle, is that I have high blood pressure. I'm fatigued. I'm gaining weight. I have jaw issues because I keep my stress in my mouth. I clench my jaws. And I have sore hands because I also clench my fists. So I keep my stress in my hands and in my mouth. So there's all these different things that are happening. And, of course, high blood pressure and weight gain, all that stuff has other health effects. So these are not good. So now I'm curious, and you don't have to tell me, but I want you to do this for yourselves. Think about your cycle and then think about how you're showing up to the world. As a result, I'm showing up as distant and unavailable. When I'm approaching burnout, I'm not available to anybody. I'm no good to anybody, just like I'm burning out. I'm really quick to say no. I'm not open to possibilities. I'm not open to the future and being positive. I'm like, nope, because I'm overwhelmed. There's too much already I'm trying to think about. I'm also really impatient. And I don't like that about myself. That's the worst version of me is being impatient. And then I'm indecisive. And as a person in a leadership position, it's not good for me to be indecisive. I need to be able to make decisions. I need to be able to lean in and actually call the right, rationale to make good decisions on demand, on time. My people need that from me. And here's the worst part for me, because I'm a perfectionist. And I saw in the chat, somebody else mentioned they're a perfectionist. I start making mistakes, y'all. I start making mistakes. I start missing deadlines. I'm like a week behind on one right now, and it's driving me insane. This is not the best version of me. And unfortunately, this is the brand that I have because this is what people see. This is what's coming out. And so this is my now reputation. And so it's important for you to know that you might think that skipping a meal only affects you, but if it's causing you to behave differently, if it's causing you to lean away from who you know you are, people are going to eventually see some aspects of that. So take a moment. And now for yourself, please fill out questions in your blueprint 2 and 3. And I'll give you a moment so you can do that. Loving the chat, by the way. Thank you all. Makes me feel like I'm not here all by myself. Okay, so as you are starting to kind of make it through those 2 questions, feel free to pop in the chat some of those words that came up for you. What words describe you when you're drained of all your energy? Mm. Amy, I see your question in the chat here, or in the Q&A about how to separate the negative actions to get to the root of your cycle. That's a really, really good question. I think it's important to remember that you are the expert of you. And so for me, I think it took a while for me to nail down what my own vicious cycle was. It took a process and it took a lot of self-awareness for me to do that. And so I encourage you to start that process for you now. It's really hard to just kind of on demand say, oh, that's the source. Study your tactics, keep a journal, keep a log of, I'm feeling a certain kind of way right now. I wonder what that's about. And notice, well, what have I eaten today? Did I get enough sleep last night? And as we talk through the tactics in a little bit, hopefully you'll get a little bit more clarity on maybe what the root cause is of that. I'm seeing in this chat here that we've got, Kristen says, coffee and wine followed by sleep issues. Oh boy, that's familiar. Anjanette says snappish. Yeah, words that describe you when you're drained, you get snappish. Quiet, blah, hollow, less confident. Yes, right? That self-efficacy starts to drain. Thank you, Paula. I see your comment about your 20-year-old. Yeah, I totally understand. And then shutting down. Thank you, Habib. Depleted. Devin says depleted. Yes. Thank you all for being so candid and forthcoming on what that feels like. Well, now let's get you out of that negative headspace and try to give you some tactics to bring you back up again. So now we're going to talk about resilience as recharge. Switch gears. I took you down the downward spiral. Let's bounce back. Let's jump into resilience. Think of yourself now when you're at your best, when you're in the zone, when whatever that means for you, okay? When you're feeling the joy, when you're just in it. I know that I feel completely free and mobile. When I'm in the zone, I'm excited about the work I'm doing, and I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I have superpowers. I got a team behind me. We're all motivated. We're pumped. We're totally energetic and just doing all kinds of really cool things. What about you? So answer the next question in your blueprint. Number 4, what words, adjectives, feeling come to mind for you? Connected, yeah. Creative, light, motivated, wonderful. Keep typing those in there because every now and again, we need to revisit this chat to remind ourselves of what it's like to be in the zone. Take a look at these images. What do you think they have in common? What do you see when you look at them? I hope that what you see is these are examples of being at peak performance. These are examples of having lots of energy or of having the potential of having lots of energy. As a human being and a human doing, I'm going to say that over and over, your brain requires a lot of energy and it needs to be recharged intentionally. And it does that with self-care. Yeah, gotta plug in. You gotta check your battery. And so we're going to talk about this concept. If you look at that top right-hand corner, woman with her arms up, time confetti. So super fun. Let's get into it. This is a battery, and it's a battery that's empty. Pop in the chat. What are some things that require a battery? What has a battery? Think of anything even on your desk right now. Ah, my phone, right? What else has a battery? Machines have batteries, yes. Computers, right? Your laptop has a battery. Your car has a battery. Devin's right on it. He says, we do. You're absolutely right. Clocks have batteries. And if you live according to a plan, when that clock goes down, oh boy, lots of things have batteries. Well, how do you know when your battery is getting low? Like in the flashlight, you have to hit it, right? It starts to flicker because you know your battery's starting to get low. On your phone or on your laptop, sometimes it flashes a warning at you saying, hey, you only have 8% left. You better finish doing what you're doing or plug me in because this is not going to go well for you. So the question is, How attuned are you to your own battery? How often throughout the day do you check in with yourself on the amount of energy that you have? How much attention do you pay to your device and how much attention do you pay to yourself? We often neglect ourselves because, especially in this world of community leadership and working in nonprofits, we live for others. And so we are sometimes actively taught to neglect ourselves. And so it's important to remember, hey, you got to put your own mask on first so that you can be the best version of yourself for everybody else. Same concept, bunch of lamps, right? The same is true. It doesn't do anybody any good if there's no light in that lamp. If it's burned out, hint, hint, get the point. The goal for the lamp and for us is to burn bright so that we don't burn out. And the key to burning bright is self-care. This is your operating system. Your brain takes up 2% of your body weight. However, it takes up 20% of your body's total energy, especially in a VUCA world, especially in uncertainty. It's doing so much processing. So the more processing that it has to do, it's spending that much more energy. So it's really important for us to pay attention to that. Here's a person working on what I'm going to assume is a vehicle. Looks like a vehicle, let's call it a vehicle. The whole point behind this is it is a machine. And I see that machines were also mentioned in the chat. Your machines will tell you when it's time for maintenance. Your body, not a machine, it's organic, but in a way, it's a machine and it will tell you when it needs maintenance. It's just up to us to pay attention to that. I know that when I am approaching burnout, I have feelings inside of me. And if I pay attention to those feelings, then I know and I can do something about it. For instance, when I have a lot going on and I have to do this and then I do that, and I have this dialogue in my head that says, okay, what's next? Okay, I finished that. Okay, what's next? I'm going down this list constantly. And if the next thing that pops up on my list is cry, I know I've hit a wall. And so I push myself away from my desk and I say, okay, sister, it's time to take a step back. You need a timeout. So I put myself in timeout and then I, ask myself another series of questions. Well, what do you need? Chocolate, wine, coffee? No, none of that. Solitaire, right? So I have to just check myself. It's just a very easy way to check in. So I'm curious about you, and I hope you're curious about you at this point. This is an opportunity now to write down what is your cue that your energy is probably draining. It's time for maintenance. Take a moment. Unfocused, irritable. Good. Thank you. Craving sweets. Don't want to talk or listen. Need some music or noise to stimulate you. Yeah, those are cues. Those are little things that are happening where your body is telling you, hey, I need a little attention here. Hey, hi, remember me? Pay attention to those things. Because again, you've got to put your mask on first. Taking care of ourselves is not selfish. It's actually quite the opposite. It positions you to be, again, the best version of you. And that's who your people need. All the people at work, all the people at home, all the people in your community need you to be tip top. And so by putting your mask on first, you're now allowing yourself to do that. So let's introduce you to this concept we call time confetti. And it's just a burn bright basic. It's really easy to fall into the narrative of I just don't have time. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to eat right. I don't have time to shop right. I don't have time. So this gives you the gift of time because the things that we're going to bring up here are light and easy, and they don't require a lot of time. So if you look at the confetti there, the one thing to notice about it is it's scattered. She's blowing it, it's scattered. That's what time confetti is, by the way. Is it something that you can sprinkle throughout your day? Little tiny things that you can do throughout your day. There are also things that you can schedule or structure so that you can check, hey, am I doing my 12 minutes in the morning and 12 minutes in the afternoon? That's the goal, is to somehow find 12 minutes in a 4-hour block of time in the morning and then again in the afternoon. 5 minutes here, 2 minutes here, get up and walk around, come back and sit down, just finding little things that you can do throughout the day versus asking you to take 45 minutes and go jump on the treadmill. And this takes you from your 2% brain capacity all the way up to burning bright. If you're willing to dedicate 2% of every day, which is 12 minutes, to recharge yourself like you charge your smartphone, then you can significantly enhance your energy and get to that burn bright self. Basically, you'll be a better person for it. Don't take our word for it. Like I said, it's heavily researched. Try it yourself. Hey, music, disco ball, music. Music is a wonderful conduit to get you into a good mood. So just pop in the chat for me, what song instantly puts you in a good mood? For me, it's Whitney Houston's version of I'm Every Woman. That song gets me going every time, and I can just think about it and start dancing. And it makes me happy and reminds me of who I am. I see Seasons of Love, Lovely Day, Tropical Beats, fantastic. Some Outcasts. This is me, happy. Yes, love it, love it, love it. Together, dance with somebody. Wonderful. Oh, you guys, this is so great. Keep popping that stuff in the chat because, again, this is something we can come back to and feel a little bit of joy. So now let's get into the tactics that are super helpful, music being one. And music is something you can do anytime. I have Spotify constantly open on my laptop so that I can just play a song whenever I need to and revive myself. All right, so there are 5 ways that we're going to talk about to get you to recharge. And the first one is physical. All of the 5 are physical and mental, inspirational or spiritual, emotional and social. And let's jump in to physical first. We have this really great practice called a walk and talk. And if you've done a walk and talk before, there are lots of reasons to do it. A lot of times it makes it easier to have a difficult conversation because you're not giving each other eye contact and staring each other down. Nice, easy way to say, hey, we need to go just like have a conversation. So walk and talk serves a lot of different purposes. For resilience, it's just a way to get away from your desk. So if you ever have any meetings throughout the day that you don't necessarily have to be seated for, ask the person, hey, can we take this on the road? Do you mind if I walk around while we have this conversation? And then, transfer it to your cell phone or pick up your laptop, whatever it is that you're doing, and walk around your house or go outside, come back in, just do something where it serves dual purposes. So that's your walk and talk. It's a really great way to just kind of get up. And again, I'm not asking you to bring it into an exercise routine. This is not about exercise. It's just about movement. Do something because that will actually help charge your brain. Blueprint. Go ahead and fill out questions 7 and 8 for me. I want you to think about who you can do a walk and talk with and when you can bring those things in. The next one here, I think that a lot of you have already said you relate to. Consciousness is that annoying time between naps. We are talking about sleep. Sleep is usually important, and the science is there that when you lack sleep, there are lots of negative health effects. Get your sleep. It's super, super important. Here's the crux of it. A lot of us think that we can get points by powering through, because we were kind of raised that way, and business raised us that way, and we get rewarded for powering through. And hey, I only got 2 hours of sleep last night. Oh yeah, well, I only got an hour and a half. We do that thing, and that it's fine, except that over time, it's not sustainable. It actually causes so many different problems for us. It's harder to kind of bounce back. Get your sleep. Will actually be more productive as a result. The next one we're going to talk about that's a vermrite tactic is mental. And so let's start with mindfulness. There are lots of ways to define mindfulness. Ultimately, what it's about is improving your mental health, your physical health, your performance, and slowing down aging. The whole point behind mindfulness is to get present. Just get present in the moment and align your focus with what's most important. What you focus on in your mind gets bigger. So if you're focusing on pain, if you're focusing on trauma, if you're focusing on something that was really uncomfortable that just happened, spend a little bit of time there. But then find a way to work your way through it so that you let the light in and that you can now start making meaning about that thing and then move forward. I'm not saying to deal with your trauma in a super fast way. This is not about trauma. It's only about what we focus on in our minds gets bigger. And that's where mindfulness comes in. Create awareness, get present with it, and process it so that it doesn't come back and just kind of keep hijacking you over and over and over again. Because every time you remember that horrible thing that just happened, you get re-triggered. Your amygdala refires and starts shooting all those hormones back again. And so you send yourself into this cycle. And it can be really hard to come out of it. And so one of the quickest, easiest ways to come out of it for a moment is just to get present with it. Be mindful with it. There are these moments that we call stealth meditation. Stealth meditation is all about like you caught yourself meditating. Like it just kind of happened. You didn't realize you were doing it. So when you take more moments and practice it enough, it becomes just kind of rote for you. It's just really, really, really easy. And so that's the goal, is to do it where it doesn't feel like work. Do it so that it becomes more natural to you. Another way that you can recharge your brain in a mental way is by doing a puzzle or playing a game on your phone or doing art therapy and coloring. There are lots of different ways that we can engage our brain into doing something that is actually filling us with energy and not draining us with energy. And you know what that is. Inspirational is all about being tapping into your sense of meaning. In times of crisis, people reach for meaning. And meaning is strength. And our survival may depend on seeing and finding it. Meaning is incredibly important, especially because as we have all of the different generations coming into work, the younger generations are saying, hey, this is actually something that's going to keep me working here. You can retain me if you tap into my sense of meaning. So as leaders, it's important even just to be aware when folks are finding meaning at work. But in general, as human beings, we like to find meaning in the things that are happening around us. So finding that inspirational way to fill your brain with energy, with that mental energy, often can come just from searching for meaning. And pause for just a second. I'm seeing there's something going on in the chat. Is everything okay? Hannah says we're having technical difficulties. And so Hannah, you let me know if there's anything that I need to do differently. Thank you. All right. So meaning at work, I'm going to give you all of those, just means that we need a sense of accomplishment. We need to connect our identity as individuals with the work that we're doing. We need to connect our being with our doing, and we need to see the impact of that. because that fills us with energy. That fills us with joy. That's what gets us into that zone, is when we're cycling our energy out and then it's coming back into us again. When we harness that, then we have all this wonderful extra energy, and now we are able to lead others. And it's completely contagious. Joy is contagious. Energy is contagious. And so it pays back in dividends. There was a really cool study that was done at MIT, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but basically there were people that were brought into a lab, 2 people at a time. And the first person was told, hey, I want you to build a Lego robot, and you're going to get paid $2 for each robot, for the first robot, and then $1.80 for the next one, and then $1.75. So it was a sliding scale downward, but compensation after every robot. And the guy's like, great, let me do that. The second person was told the same thing. Come in, build a robot, and we're going to pay you every robot that you get. Except that the first guy went through, built his robots, got his money, built his robots, got his money, made it, like 12 robots before it was like no longer fun, right? Law of diminishing returns. It's got to end at some point. The second person, every time he built a robot and started the next one, he got his compensation. But when he'd start the second robot or the next robot, the scientist would break the first one, take all the pieces apart and put it back in the box. And the person would, well, okay, that kind of sucked. I hated that, but I'll go ahead and, get my $1.80 and build the next one. And they would make it as far as like 7. And so they didn't make it as far. They didn't stay committed. They didn't stay retained by the organization for as long. So what the scientists discovered is that sucking the meaning out of our work is actually really easy. Bosses do it all the time. So something to keep in mind of, if you're a manager, if you're a leader who wants to motivate people, then honor the work that they're doing and be really mindful of when you're not honoring that work, when you might be doing something the opposite of taking that kind of pleasure away, of feeling like you've actually contributed to something. Emotional, this one's kind of loaded as well. I think that the key here is that our brains also inform our emotions. So what we call this is cognitive appraisal. And so the tactic to build that energy is cognitive reappraisal. The point here is when we're going through life and we come up against something really hard, or we've been injured emotionally, physically, whatever that injury is that we're feeling, our brains are going to search the memories and they're going to say, oh yeah, you've been through this before and you survived, or you've been through this before and it was really, really painful and you don't really like this. And so you're going to stay here for a little while. And so emotionally, we stay there for a little while. We can get ourselves out of that kind of downward spiral in our brains if we reappraise what just happened. We can tell our brains, no, this is how I want to feel about it. This is what I believe about it. And so the quick question that you can ask yourself there when you need to interrupt that pattern is, what am I believing about this thing that just happened? What am I believing right now? How am I feeling? What am I believing? And that'll help you get out of that cycle of ruminating, which we don't like to do. It is a natural reaction to stuff to ruminate about it and to spend a lot of mental energy on it. The whole thing is, when we ruminate, like cows ruminate, okay? Cows have like 6 stomachs. I think they have 4 to 6 stomachs, right? Lots and lots of stomachs. And what that means is, and I'm going to get really gross for just a second, so plug your ears if you don't like that. But they chew their cud, and then they swallow it, and they process it a little bit, but then they back it up again and chew it again. And then they swallow it again. And they do that 4 to 6 times because they have to, because that's how their bodies work. Well, this negative energy that goes around in our brain is kind of like that, except we don't have a reason to keep mulling it over and mulling it over and mulling it over. So it's a natural reaction for us to do it. We feel like we need to process it. The key is process it. The key is, yes, make some sense of it as quickly as you can and move forward, because the longer you stay in that, you're draining your energy. We like to take stuff personally. We like to make up our stories, and then we lose focus. And so again, get to a point where it's not about you, or it's about whatever it's about, but get to the point where now you're planning instead of worrying. Now you're reflecting instead of ruminating, making some good meaning out of it. Cognitive reappraisal simply just means reinterpreting what just happened. Savoring is another thing that you can do to restore your emotions. You remember the image that I showed at the very beginning of the session, and I'd asked you to think about something good that had happened recently. The really cool thing about savoring is when you pull that memory up, you have exactly the same feelings that you had when it first happened. And so at any time during the day, this is really great time confetti. Bring up a memory that's awesome. Read back through the chats, and that gives you all of that positive energy again and fills your brain and energizes you all over again. It's fantastic. Savoring refers to being mindfully present and engaged with your experience of positive events in order to take them in. It's just like I can think about eating ice cream. I love ice cream. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was really good. Because the memory for me is almost as good as the real thing of actually doing it. So just find those little things, those little tidbits that are really helpful to you, that will help you kind of jump into that other headspace. Last one we have for you is social. And so it's really just how are you connecting with others? And this is a question that you can do in your blueprint. And it's important to just think about all the people that you're connected with, because that's how we flourish. Flourishing is not a solo endeavor. We weren't designed to be living in this world all by ourselves. So when you actually can connect with other people, then you can spend time savoring. You can spend time in a positive headspace. You can spend time building each other's positive energy so that you can armor up and be the person that you need to be in the role that you play. I have a couple of friends at work that are just really, really, really great for me. And they're really, really great because they give me permission to be who I am, number one, but also to just fall apart when I need to vent, when I need to cry, when I need a thought partner, when I need to ideate, when I'm not feeling totally organized and I just need to put it out there and help. I just need help sorting through something. My friends, my people, my tribe, if you will, they give me permission. And that's what I need. So I'm curious about what you need. So if you'll go ahead and just go into your blueprint and do that. We'll take some notes about that. And while you're doing that, I want you to think about too, gratitude. As I think about my friends, I do as much as I can to tell them how much they mean to me. And so think about a person who's done something for you recently, even a little thing, that you can write a quick note of gratitude to. And maybe it's in a chat, and maybe it's in person, and maybe it's through snail mail. But take a second and think about somebody that you can give a good gratitude note to. So question 10 in your blueprint. And with the 1 minute that I have left, I'm just going to walk you through the outcome of all of this, which is a virtuous cycle. Virtuous cycle is just the positive building blocks to get you out of your vicious cycle and into your virtuous one. Here's mine. I now take vitamins to help protect myself so I can sleep at night and so I can have my nutrition. I never skip my morning workout anymore. And also I don't come straight down to work. I don't come to work until 7:30, which I know is still early, but it's much later than I was doing. I drink coffee and I eat good food. I make sure that I have good food in my refrigerator so that I can go grab it and I don't get, the stuff that's not good for me. I play great music throughout the day, and that keeps me energized, even when times are really hard. And notice my basic needs. I push myself away. I walk around my house, and I come back and sit down. I ask for help, and this is a big one for me, with dinner, with work, with whatever. I know my people and I know that they love me. And so as a community, we do this together. And so I ask for help. I have my occasional glass of wine or two. And then I reserve my energy for my family when they need me. Lastly, by the time I go to bed, I'm tired, but I'm not worrying. And then I sleep well. So when you have time, I encourage you to go ahead and fill out the rest of your blueprint and put in your virtuous cycle. Give it some really good thought because it's something that should be meaningful to you so that you do it. Again, these are things that should be reasonable and easy for you to do.